Everyone. Today I am starting with a topic called terrorism as part of internal security. So it's a huge topic, hence I'll be not revising the things, but we'll be completing terrorism and then we'll take revision session in upcoming days. Okay. So first, for anything we already decided, if there is a term, we have to know what is the term meaning. So what is terrorism now? So that is the important key to note now. So I wrote heading, what is terrorism? It refers to violent act. See, the key word is, here it is violent act committed by individual or group to instill fear and achieve specific goals. They want to build up fear and then achieve their own goals, often related to political, ideological, religious beliefs. It can target civilians, government institutions, infrastructure, and disrupt social stability. So first key here is, it's a violent act by an individual or a group. For what? For their specific goal. How? By instilling a fear. Okay, so it might relate to political, religious, or ideological, and that might focus on even target on civilians or government institutions or infrastructure, and finally disrupt social stability. So we understood what is terrorism. It's a violent act to achieve specific goal focusing on political, ideological, or religious beliefs, and then they mostly damage civilians, government institutions, infrastructure, and societal stability. Why I am repeating so often for every chapter is because by the end you complete the series, you would have learned most of the things. There is no much revision needed from your end. So just following the series will make your complete learning of a subject. That is the reason I am keep on repeating. So just follow it. You will be able to make it good at mains examination. Okay. So now we'll see what are the common elements of a terrorism. So what are common elements? One such point is propaganda and branding. So what they use is media. Why? To spread the ideology. It's a propaganda spreading and branding, etc. So responsibility claims, group claims responsibility for attacks to assert influence. I already told it's a violent act. So they claim their responsibility for that violent act. So for propaganda and branding. So second is for modus operandi. So what does it mean? In this they are going to use bombing, shooting, cyber attacks, etc. So strategically they choose one place or individual to maximize the impact. That is modus operandi. Okay. So first is propaganda and branding. Second is modus operandi. Third is motive based. Okay, why we are reading this? We know, right? We are reading common elements. They might be having intention of branding or spreading propaganda, or they have modus operandi. That means they wanna target a specific individual so that they maximize the impact. Then the motivation based also. It may be revenge based or jihad. It's like religious or ideological duty. That's what they feel under jihad. Or self-righteousness, belief in moral superiority over others. They believe they are right. So it's like righteousness. Okay. So one is religious, that we say it's a jihad, and under the name of jihad they are doing it. They feel it's a duty, and or the revenge or self-rightness, right? Then we have intent of damage. So they have intention of damage itself directly. So I was talking on what? We were talking on what are the common elements, why they do so. Why? Because propaganda spreading or modus operandi, or they have certain motivation, or they really want to damage. So what kind of damage they want to do? Physical, which may cause casualties, destruction, or psychological, which may create fear and trauma. We get feared, right? Or economic, political, psychological, economic, right? Then their motive might be motivational will be there, and also maybe for political gain they can do. So terrorism often aims to destabilize governments or influence policy. So this is also one of the common element of a terrorism. So what is terrorism? It's a violent act. So to achieve specific goal. And we saw the elements. What are the elements? Elements might be based on propaganda spreading or branding or modus operandi or motivation, or they really have an intention of damaging. So or finally they have kind of political gain, right? So yes. Then planning. How will they plan? So they also have certain problem, right? I mean, yeah, logistics requires detailed planning of resources, escape routes, and timings. So they plan everything accordingly based on logistics. So how much time is required, or the resources needed, and which route to escape, all those things. Reconnaissance and surveillance of targets for effective execution. Then they also have the coordination among the members for successful operation. It's like even they go through a lot of planning and do. Again, it's causing instability in the society. So that's the problem. So there are certain data that has to be memorized as part of terrorism. Okay, what is that? At global level, the data is Global Terrorism Index 2023. So for you, the assignment is who publishes Global Terrorism Index. So according to this report, 1.7 death per attack in 2022. So 1.7 deaths per attack. So 22% increase in number of incidents globally. Actually, it is on increasing mode. Terrorism is on increasing mode. Right. We have read left-wing extremism. It's inside the country, that is in a declining mode. Whereas terrorism, 22% in an increasing mode. Okay. So that is the data. Then Indian level, if you see, Global Terrorism Index 2024 says it reports decline in terrorism related to death. In India, even left-wing extremism is declining, even terrorism is declining according to Global Terrorism Index. Whereas global level, terrorism 22% is increasing, right? So then we have Ministry of Home Affairs report. So 2022-23, National Investigation Agency recorded 497 cases. So then 389 charge sheeted, 108 convicted. So this is a recent data which should be noted. Okay. So according to National Investigation Agency, I already mentioned when I was discussing about the syllabus, the importance of NIA, Information Bureau, etc. So National Investigation Agency has recorded 400 and plus. So near to approximately 500 cases. So under that, approximately 400 are charge sheeted and approximately 100 are convicted. For easiness, I am saying, if you can't remember exact number, at least you remember, like it's 500 recorded and 400 charge sheeted and 100 convicted, right? Now we'll see the history. For everything we are seeing history, how it has developed and all, right? So we'll start with 1947, our early independence. From there, 1980s, Indira Gandhi's assassination, rise of military in Punjab. So we started with this Indira Gandhi's assassination. Later in 1990s, surge in militancy in Jammu and Kashmir, emergence of left-wing extremism. So this is also one which aided for the terrorism rise, which we already discussed. Yes. So in 2000s, major attacks including the Parliament attack and Mumbai attacks. So very notable one. That is also like this one, Mumbai attack, in that also. So Parliament attacks and Mumbai attacks. And also we got to know it's an environment of Pakistan-based terrorist groups around 2000s. So important. In 2010s, rise of new group like Indian Mujahideen and ISISI. So once we reached 2010s, we got into this ISISI attacks. So increase in lone wolf attacks and right-wing extremism. So right-wing extremism also started. Present day, ongoing issue with cross-border terrorism and homegrown militancy. So now it is cross-border terrorism is more. So this is a trend we have seen. So yeah, we have concerns over youth radicalization and cyber terrorism also. What to do on all, we'll have a look. Yeah, we'll understand what is this terrorism and how much it is complex. Already we have seen terrorism and what are those common elements that they are focusing on, how it got evolved in India, and India's whether terrorism is increasing or decreasing data. Now we'll see complexity of terrorism. So here comes the talk on state versus state sponsored terrorism. State also sponsors is what kind of a problem complexity here. So one is state terrorism, action taken by government to suppress dissent or opposition. Okay, so state has to control. Okay, then state sponsored terrorism, government supporting non-state actors to achieve political goals. So one thing is the key role of government is oppressing it or opposing it. However, there are countries like Pakistan which are sponsoring for terrorism to achieve their specific goals. So that is state sponsored terrorism. This is one of the complications that we are facing. So then we have seen in the introduction that whatever crime we are looking into, there are technological advancements. Because of that, it is becoming more complex. So the similar one we'll see in terrorism and technology. So what are the problems? So planning issues, dynamic nature of threats. Now it becomes so dynamic, constantly evolving tactics and methods used by terrorist organizations. So for us it is becoming so problematic to stop it because they are also dynamically evolving along with the technology. Rapid advancement in technology can render existing counter-terrorism strategies ineffective. So whatever previously existing, it is not much impactful because of dynamic nature of threats. Okay, then we have fast progress in there also, that is technology fatigue. The overwhelming phase of technological change can lead to challenges in keeping up, right? And we have dual use nature. Technology can be used both legitimate purpose and for terrorism. So these are the problem with terrorism. Why like technology used in terrorism, that's how we are not able to tackle, or we are facing difficulty in tackling. Then I can't say we are not able to tackle, but we are facing challenges because of technology. One is because of dynamism, one more is because of dual nature is there. Okay, then we'll see how to counter one second. So how to counter terrorism with technology. So now we have seen how they are using it and how can we use so that we can counter the terrorism using technology. So first point is counter narratives. Example, the Center for Strategic Counter-Terrorism Communications in USA focuses on promoting counter narratives to terrorist propaganda. So it's like countering their narratives. So that is one of the important strategy taken by Center for Strategic Counterterrorism Communication of USA. Okay. Then strategic measures. Example, the UN Terrorist Travel Program aims to monitor and control terrorist movement. So there is one program called UN Terrorist Travel Program to monitor their movement. Okay. So that is strategic measure. Then we have intelligence gathering. AI applications, tools like the EU ETIAS system enhance border security and monitoring of potential threats. So we can also use intelligence gathering using machine learning and AI tools. So and also predicting behavior. We know data analytics, right? So we can use predictive analytics. Programs like Red Alert and Moonshoot analyze pattern to predict potential terrorist activities. So these are two important key points, Moonshoot and Red Alert. Okay. Then we have important thing, we can also do evidence gathering using digital footprints. So what is it? Analysis of online activities and communications to gather evidences as seen in investigations like Bengaluru cafe attack recently. Yes. So then we should also have cross-border cooperation like security models, NATO's Dexter defensive cyber operation, enhanced collaboration among member states on cyber security, and also like national cyber security strategy. Like frameworks like EU's NIS directive focus on protecting critical infrastructure. So now we understood how terrorists are using technology and how can we use. We can use for counter narratives. We can use for strategic measures, international or geopolitical cooperation, intelligence gathering, evidence gathering, and cross-border cooperation, as I mentioned. So these are some of the things we can also make sure so that we are reducing the terrorism. Not only technological, we should also counter financial aspects of a terrorism through strategy for financial institutions, like they are utilizing blockchain to track fund. Even we should utilize so that we can track the fund usage transparently and enhance accountability. Audit NGO accounts so that they are not sponsoring to terrorism, and also we should enhance the regulations so that we can combat money laundering and terrorism financing, right? And also align digital currency regulations, KYC and KYT, these things, okay? So if we can do this, we can also curb the financial aid that is going to terrorism so that we can directly curb terrorist activities, right? One is how financial institution strategy, that is through utilizing blockchain or auditing NGOs, etc., and enhancing regulation like reducing or combating money laundering and terrorist financing. Also align digital currency regulation. Digital currency regulation is very much needed, such as KYC, know your customer, or KYT, know your transactions. Yes. So use of technology in terrorism. How they are using, actually I told there is a dynamism, but how they are using. So for digital communication, propaganda, under propaganda, they're using for digital communication, utilization of multimedia and messaging tools to spread propaganda. Example, deep fake videos they're using to manipulate perceptions. And then social media and dark web, digital communication, social media and dark web. Secure communication is what platforms like Telegram and dark web for convert interactions. Okay, and also for recruitment, terror groups like ISIS and Al Qaeda leveraging these platforms to recruit members. Yeah, so and then anonymizing services, that's how they are doing, and also games and videos, ideology propagation through that also, like Quest for Bush video series. So live streamed attacks also, instance like Christchurch and Halle attack. Okay, so that's how they are kind of using it for propaganda. Okay, also for recruiting, global reach and lone wolf attacks they're using, and also for training like online manuals, dark web forums, and institutional materials, etc. So then for planning, they are also kind of using encrypted communication and procurement of weapons. As I mentioned, dark web platform they are using. Example, Euro gun platform facilitating weapon sales. And also for fundraising, they are making use of this. Cryptocurrencies fund the Islamic struggle, like that. Okay. Even for execution, use of drones, countering technology in terrorism is what important for us now. Because all these things are happening, how can we counter? So we should be countering the dark web, utilization of technology. So for countering terrorism, I will mention more now. Social approach we should be following. First thing, where we will be having rehabilitation programs. So reintegrating former militants and preventing radicalization. That is one thing. Socially we should start public awareness, education and outreach, equity in development. Once social approaches is done, then we should be also focusing on political approaches like inter-party unity. Unity should be there. Marginalized representation, because we already seen what happens when we marginalize the community. They will be turning into LWE or into terrorism. So should not be having that. so that what we should be doing, we should be giving them the representation chance. Then we must have religious tolerance. Of course, India is secular and we are following it, and interfaith dialogue should be there. Technical approach also we should be using, like surveillance technology, blockchain monitoring, privacy conscious surveillance, safer internet initiatives, and also legislative approaches like strengthening legal mechanisms, UPA implementation, like Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. This implementation, proper implementation, transparent laws should be taken, and take economic approaches also, oversight on terror financing, cryptocurrency monitoring, strengthening FCOD and NATFC, these things, like financial intelligence units. So these things. Then international approach also, like intelligence sharing, international cooperation, and capacity building, these should be taken care. When it comes to global diplomacy of India on terrorism, we have certain point to understand. So till here we understood how can we counter. Later we have global diplomacy of India on terrorism. So what kind of diplomacy India is having? Evolution of Indian approach. We'll first see that delegitimization of a terrorism. So efforts to undermine the justification of terrorism. First of all, we should not justify terrorism when it's a violent turn. There is no point of justifying it. That is delegitimization of a terrorism. Root cause approach. Always focus on root cause. Then we have resolution based on this. So on comment you should be saying what is this. Okay. Then we have comprehensive versus sectoral approach also, advocating for integrated approach, not the sectoral alone, which will make it a isolated approach so that we can't take out the terrorism from grassroots level. So we have to go for comprehensive approach. Then we have campaigning for comprehensive convention on international terrorism, like universal definition should be given, ban terror groups, special laws and extraditions should be there. So what are the challenges? So we don't have proper definition for what is terrorism. Scope, challenges related to the extent of counter-terrorism measures is less, and there are overlappings. So these are some of the challenges. So other steps in international forums are FATF membership, India engaging with a financial action task force to combat terrorism or terrorist financing, and also we are part of like global counter terrorism strategy, contributing to comprehensive global strategy against terrorism. Then we have many bilateral agreements, forming partnership with other nations to strengthen counter terrorism efforts. So reforming UNCTC, advocating for reforms in United Nations Counter Terrorism Committee. See, frequent revision and reforms are needed for any law to be successful, right? That has to be taken care. And UN peacekeeping mission, even we are part of it. Like these days, terrorism is growing as a competitive industry. So how? Why? So that there is an organizational structure and network. Hierarchy, central leadership. Example, Al-Qaeda operates under a well-defined central command. Decentralization is there. Regional affiliates operate semi-independently, such as AQAP or Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula, and these things. Okay. Recruitment and human resources. Recruitment strategies are there. Training are there. Funding and financial management. Diversified funding resources. Financial management, like Taliban's operation funding is significantly linked with opium production. Technological adaptation, technology use, cyber terrorism, etc. So market competition and rivalry, competing for influencing. Rivalries between groups such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda for dominance in the jihadist landscape. In that also they are kind of becoming competitive. So branding and propaganda, in that also they are kind of competing among themselves, which is first of all not legitimate. Still, yeah, impact on society and economy. We have events like 9/11 attacks resulted in significant economic losses and global security overhauls. So, global reach. 2008 Mumbai attacks demonstrated the international ramification of terrorist activities. Then comes one point, important point, that is organized crime. So these are, they are kind of, first of all, it's a not legitimate work. Still, there is a competition in that. Now we learn about organized crime and how it is aiding to terrorism. Okay, organized crime, recent incident. Operations like Operation Dwast illustrate ongoing and evolving threat posed by organized terrorism or terrorist network. So organized crime and terrorism, how it is related. So recent operation I told, Dwast, nationwide raids by NIA at 129 location resulting in multiple arrests. So MCOCA involvement. Case linked to Lawrence Bishnoi and Salman Khan highlighted organized crime implications. Okay. So definition of organized crimes we should be knowing, right? So UNODC describes organized crime as a continuing criminal enterprise involved in illicit activities like corruption and intimidation. So what is it? It's a organized crime is a continuous criminal enterprise. It's a continuing criminal enterprise involved illicit activities, corruption, intimidation. Okay, it's a criminal enterprise. Okay. So UNTOC defines structured groups engaged in serious crimes. Again, criminal crimes they are doing for financial material benefit. Okay. Transnational crime and international cooperation. In 1988, UN Convention focused on illicit drug trafficking. 1994 conference addressed organized transnational crime in Naples. 2000 UN Convention established framework for transnational organized crime. So then we come for narcotics trafficking in India. So it is one of the, organized crimes have many features like narcotics, human trafficking, drug trafficking, smuggling, etc. So now we see one by one narcotics trafficking in India. So India is producer of opium and procurer drugs. So that's the problem. And the problem actually here, India lies between Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle, and this is India. So that's the problem. So we have Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai seaports where these things will be happening. Rising domestic drug use is a trend. So then comes human trafficking. Definition involves recruitment, transportation and exploitation of humans. Sources: forced labor and sex work prevalent in Middle East and neighboring countries. Statistics says 90% domestic trafficking versus 10% cross-border. So 90% within domestic. Okay, legislative measures, what we are taking? We are taking like Human Trafficking Prevention Bill 2016, which expands the definition, right? Then we have a commercial smuggling in India. I told already these are some of the organized crimes. Okay, so in that smuggling is one. Evolution, economic policies and high trade barriers led to smuggling. So initially economic policies and high trade barriers. So hub Mumbai is major center for smuggling. Methods, it includes contraband, underreporting and falsification. Then gun running. So correlation with terrorism, gun running often linked to terrorism as shown in a global organized crime index. Okay. Methods, use of encrypted networks and parcel services for armed trafficking. It's a armed trafficking. Then we have linkages between terrorism and organized crime. So indirectly we already read how it is linked. Now we will see some of the points. One is funding activities. So drug trafficking and funding. So example, Taliban's heroin trade. Logistic and support network for smuggling, etc. Armed trafficking, women trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking, money laundering, extortion and kidnapping, all these are kind of indirectly and directly aiding to terrorism financing. So now we'll see what is the difference between organized crime and terrorism. So motivation. Terrorism is politically, ideologically motivated, while organized crime is financially motivated. We already noted this. So organized crime is financial and this is politically, ideologically motivated. Goal. Terrorism aims to topple governments. Organized crime, financial gain. Operational style. Terrorism often uses over violence. It uses violence, I told this. Whereas it covers operations. Okay, crime refers to some financial gain again. Social legitimacy. Organized crime may have some social support, while terrorism typically does not. Impact on civilians. Terrorism generally causes higher damage. Yes. Government interaction. Terrorism opposes government. Organized crime often manipulates it. So there are two types. Completely opposing is terrorism. Manipulating is organized crime. So we must take some initiative to counter them, right? So yeah, initiative to counter organized crime. One is organized crime control units. Special units for tackling organized crimes. Then we have legislative measures also. MCOCA, KCOCA, NDPS. So it is the assignment. So what are the abbreviation of this? Okay. Financial intelligence units, collaborative frameworks, international cooperation, UN conventions. We have all these things. Okay. As initiatives. So next we have Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita and organized crime. According to it, we have some of the sections which are against organized crimes and the terrorism. So we'll see what are those. Against organized crimes, section 111 defines continuing unlawful activities with penalties up to life imprisonment. So section 111. Section 112 addresses petty organized crime with a lighter penalty. So penalty or life imprisonment in case of 111. 112 it is for lighter penalty, or even it addresses for lighter penalties. So these are some of the initiatives India has taken and global level also we have seen. So this is all about terrorism plus what are the components of terrorism, components we have seen, and how technology aiding terrorism and how we are using technology to combat terrorism. What are the global linkages, events, and what is organized crime, how it is relating to terrorism, how is it aiding to terrorism, and what are the initiative of India to combat or counter organized crime. All these things we have seen. So this is a huge chapter. We'll again have a session where I'll get with a flow chart so that you can memorize easily. You just follow the series. Listen everything every day, one session. By the end of the day, you will be learning most of the points by sessions itself. You don't need to separately practice anything or separately get any notes. So that is the agenda of the day. Thank you.